Hello, Elena.
Hello.
How you doing?
I just suddenly got a bit nervous there.
What? So you could not be more nervous than I. Trust me.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How am I? I don't feel very grounded today, if I'm really honest with you. But that's okay. You just gotta.
What's not making you feel grounded?
Honor how you're feeling. I think because I got back from work and I spent only like 20 minutes with my dog.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like to be with him a lot longer than that. And I kind of obviously rushed here, which I was happy to do.
Thank you.
I think, But I think that's why I don't feel that grounded, because I didn't, spend as much time with him than I would have liked to.
You love your dog, don't you?
Oh, my dog is my king. Yeah, he's 2.5, Chihuahua, rescue dog I got from here. He's my absolute world. I love him. I do love children, but I'm kind of 95% sure that I don't want my own.
Okay.
And I made peace with that a few years ago now. So my dog is, and even though I say that, like, I don't, want to be like a mum to a human, it's, I've got so much love to give, and I'm a very like nurturing maternal person. Mm-hmm. So I give all that to my dog. And he's ruined beyond belief. You wouldn't have any idea.
Well, look, I want to say thank you for doing this. We have a lot to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that might not know who you are, just take a moment to introduce yourself and who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me as well. It's my pleasure. So my name is Alana Wallace and I'm 37 years old. I'm from the UK. I've been in Dubai here 4 years now. But I was here a long time ago, back in 2007 for a couple of years. At the moment, I do radio. I have just started a new show this morning called Kiss FM.
There you go.
Which is really exciting. I do the breakfast show. Was it last week or the week before? I celebrated 3 years of doing radio here in the UAE for Love 107.1, but now we've transitioned into Kiss. And I also do a lot of emceeing, which I love. I love to host big events all around the Emirates, whether it's, everything from sporting events to dance events to really corporate, very professional, official things that I can't believe they let me into, but there you go. Big launches of fantastic brands, I love what I do. I live for what I do, really. Before I did this, I was always in the entertainment industry, singing, dancing, acting, modelling. That's how I made my living for about 13 or 14 years.
And did you always want to do this?
Since I was this high, yeah.
What was it that, what was your first moment where you went, right, I want to be a performer?
I was about 4 or 5 years old and I was in my childhood best friend's house, little Jill, if you're watching. I was in her, oh God, you set me up already. I was in her living room and Jill would have been a year younger than me. Our sister Caroline was 2 years older. And I remember her mum, Sandra, we had our first dance class the next day. And Sandra was going, okay, girls, first position, second position, third position. And then the next day we all went to ballet class. And yeah, I think I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And since then, the rest is history. All I wanted to do was be on the stage, performing. It's an escape for me. It's an escape from my own head. And I like to make other people laugh and smile and take them out of their own heads as well. And I think entertaining in whatever medium that is a really beautiful way to do that.
And did you go to performing arts school?
So I went to dance school when I was little, and then when I was about 12 or 13, I started going to like theatre school to do more of the acting and the singing. And I would go down to Sylvia Young in London, doing like their summer schools. Yeah, on Baker Street, you might know. Yeah. And I'd go there doing their summer schools. And then when I finished my GCSEs, I auditioned for like proper theatre school. And then my mum and dad wouldn't let me move to London. Much to my demise. I'm still not over that yet all these years later.
Because you're 37, so we're So 76. I'm going to confuse.
So when was it? Was it 2005? I left like high school, normal school. Yeah.
Yeah, London was cool then.
Yeah,
I know it's terrible, but London was cool then. You know
well, we're from the northeast, so London is this big scary place, right? From everyone from the north. Yeah. So my mum and dad just wouldn't let me move, and obviously it was financially really expensive to send you to London and stuff. Yeah. So I trained up north in a place called Sage Academy of Performing Arts for 3 years from when I was like 16, graduated just after my 18th birthday. And and then that was me like properly ready to go into the world of performing.
Because I was all in hospitality and everything working in London, and you work with a lot of performers. So it's like the number one job for a performer whilst trying to get their big break is a waiter or a bartender. Yeah. And so how tough was it for you to get your first big break? Were you lucky enough to get it soon, or was there constant rejections but you soldiered on?
Do you know what? It's highs and lows, isn't it? We said before we started filming, we must know a lot of the same people, because I as well worked as a dancer in loads of the clubs around London, and because you got to, right? If you're not from money, if you don't marry into money, you've got to make your living, and London is just ridiculously expensive. And but going back to your question, I worked as like a commercial, you would call them like commercial girls. So I would do a lot of like backing dancing for artists or TV commercials or whatever. And so you were always getting like really cool gigs on TV or really cool like music videos or shows or whatever. And you were like, oh God, this set now I've made it. And then you wouldn't work for 3 more months and you're like, what the? And so I was always getting all of that. But when did my, there was so many times. Look, I've had so many amazing highs in my career. There's so many more lows than I have highs, don't get us wrong. But I think one of my first ever big moments was I was a dancer on the Prince of Persia movie.
Okay.
Yeah. That
with
was
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes, Jake Gyllenhaal.
I've forgotten her
Gemma
name.
Arterton.
Yes.
And Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley. Yeah. And that was super cool. That was like my first like big paycheck, and that was my first we were filming up at Pinewood, and you know, I think I was 21 and I got a driver would come and collect me, and I was like, a driver? I don't have to get the tube. I couldn't believe it. That was super cool. But before that was obviously in London in the UK, but I was back and forth from Dubai from 2007 to 2009. And I did quite a lot of modelling out here. And I remember I was about 19 years old and I was on a billboard here. And I remember, I'll never forget it. We're in mine and my ex's car and it was like traffic jam. I think we were on Sakim. And we're in a traffic jam and I saw my poster, my billboard. And I had like a pink, the cameras, right? The cameras that would show you with the screen on the back.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And then I got it out my bag and I was taking a photo of the billboard and this woman in the car beside us went, "Is that you?" I went, "Yeah, it's me." And I was like so excited. And I was about 19, as I say. So like little glimpses, and then there was the Prince of Persia that I just mentioned, and then after that I was in a girl band.
Really?
Yeah.
What girl band were you in?
We were called Man and Butterfly, and
Not bad.
It was, do you know Fleur East?
Yes, yeah, Fleur, yeah.
I'm so proud of how well she's done. So it was me, Fleur, and a girl called Amael.
Oh, Fleur East was on X Factor, she was the one. I tell you why I remember her, because she did Uptown Funk.
Yeah,
she did Uptown Funk before it was released.
Yeah,
and it's an awesome song, and she did it better than the actual version that I can't remember. Bruno Mars actually released. And I remember watching it live, and I was like, she's awesome. So wow, that's really cool.
Fleur is hugely talented and such a solid girl, very down to earth. I'm very, very, very proud of how well she's done. So yeah, Fleur, Amael and we were in a band, Man and Butterfly, and we performed at the, Indigo in O2 alongside Jessie J and Ed Sheeran. Okay. And it was, N-Dubs was the headliner, and we were all, I know, N-Dubs, man, can't beat it. Excuse me. And yeah, Devlin, really talented rapper called Devlin as well. So we were all on this bill together. And we just put out a song called Naughty. And the music video was out on like the channels. And I'll never ever forget my like solo verse was the second verse after the first chorus. And we were doing like the routine that we had. And I remember like we were coming towards the end of the chorus up to my verse. And I remember going, I don't know my words. I don't know my words. And then I just stepped forward, and because we'd rehearsed it so many times, muscle memory just came through and delivered for me, thank goodness. But it was so fabulous because the crowd, like these young kids, these teenagers were singing the songs back to us. And I was like, these kids know our lyrics, like, and it was just such a surreal moment.
How many people were in the crowd?
Well, Indigo held about 2,000, 2.5 maybe.
Yeah, that must have been a right buzz.
Yeah. And then after that, I danced for the likes of Rihanna at the Brit Awards, which was an amazing thing.
I was going to ask you about being a backing dancer, because, I read that you did that. And
I talk about it any given opportunity because I love Rihanna, right? So,
but how, I don't know, how was it to be on stage with her in a sense of, because are they really that good? Do you know what I mean? Like, because you are, I know a lot of people that have done these sort of things, but I've never had the opportunity to. I just want to ask people questions that I want to ask them.
So that whole process was incredible because I forget the name of the choreographer, but it was Janet Jackson's choreographer. So working as a dancer and then auditioning for someone like Janet's choreographer was just like amazing. To tell you the truth, like I did work as a dancer for many, many, many years, but I was always the worst on the job, like always hands down the worst. But because I'm a very strong performer, that's what would book as the job, right? So in realms like that, when I would like book these massive jobs, I would feel so out of my depth, right? But somehow I would, pull through and it would be all right on the day, so to speak. And I remember we were rehearsing for, I think it was 3 days. And then Rihanna came in this big warehouse. It was obviously February, the Brits, so it was for a reason, in this massive warehouse. And Rihanna came in on day 4. And I was huge, like still am to this day. I worship the ground she walks on, really, really so talented. And she came in and I've never seen a more beautiful woman in my life. There was the time when she had this like gorgeous, like blonde, like tight curled hair. And when you looked at her, she was really tall and this beautiful caramel skin. And she looked like her eyes are just piercing green, like a tiger's eyes. And I remember she like came and she was so cool with all the dancers. And so anyway, the choreographer's like, right, okay, like we had to perform it for her. And she stopped it after about 45 seconds. She was like, no. She was like, on the hi-hat, you need to hit it like this. And she was really involved in like how precise we were making like our movements, because she wanted it on the snare and on the hi-hat. And she wanted us to like, our movements, like bring out the musicality in the song. And I was really surprised because I thought she would come in and just do our bit, and
go
kind
through
of
the
slot
motions.
in. And she didn't. She was really hands-on, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch upon a particular situation that's occurred with you in the last couple of weeks.
That could be all sorts.
That could be all sorts. But you recently came out and spoke about situations that happened to you when you were younger with domestic violence. And as we spoke before, and I have a very direct family member that went through the same thing. However, I didn't want this to be a retreading of the podcast that you did last week. Was it last week or a couple of weeks ago?
The week before last, and then just
and
got released.
What was that? Because I'm more than happy. You go ahead and name it so people can go and watch it and understand that part of the experience for you. So what podcast was that?
This is Dubai.
Yeah.
Michael, who hosts that, who I think the world of really respectful.
He did a really good job with the subject matter.
He's a really solid person. I like to think I've got, well, I love how we're like domestic violence. I've got a great sense of intuition, but no, I think I do now. In the moment I met Michael, I knew that you feel safe when you're around him, right? And obviously he has This is Dubai, great, cool podcast. And we were doing Al Arabiya. We're doing like this W News Extra. He's one of like the main hosts on there, and I come in and guest host there, guest present there sometimes. And we just had a chat after the show, and I said, I'd love to be on your podcast. He said, well, what would you like to talk about? And I said, well, I can talk about anything from eating disorders to mental health to domestic violence to the entertainment industry. I've lived a very varied life, a very colourful life, and obviously because I do radio and stuff here, even though I adore doing radio, but you don't get to speak much about, your personal, more vulnerable moments, right? And why should you? It's a breakfast morning show. You want to just get everyone on the way to work in a good mood.
You're trying to set everyone up for a good day. Do you know what I mean?
And yeah, so Michael and I just had a chat, and then he invited me on to speak about, my experience with domestic violence in my past when I was very young. And it was the first time I've spoke about it properly in detail on a public platform. And to be really honest, Sam, I did feel for a long time like I was in discussions with myself, just in my head, about whether I should do that, because I didn't want to upset my family members. I didn't want to upset people who were in my life at the time. I know that, both my exes have moved on with their lives, and I didn't want to upset any thing within their current relationships or current life. However, the reason why I did decide to speak out on it, it wasn't just I decided quickly I'm going to talk about this now. It was a long conversation in my head that I had with myself about it. But the reason why I wanted to, and why I will continue to be happy to talk about it, is because unfortunately there is still this horrible matter, and I feel obviously very strongly about it. And I want to show to people, even when you think it's completely hopeless and you think, I can't live, I can't go on, you can, even though the healing never stops, the journey never stops, but you can remove yourself from a situation, no matter, even if it feels impossible, you can.
Yeah, and as we spoke before, I mean, as I said, you have given some very graphic descriptions of what happened on that podcast. What I'd like to ask you is that I'd like to feel that if there's anyone watching this, right? If there is a lady, a female that is in this, I would really like this to be a vehicle for change, where my first question to you would be how much courage did it take to tell yourself, right, I've had enough of this?
Well, it wasn't really me. It was my sister.
Okay.
My eldest sister, yeah. She was the one, as it would fate or whatever you want it to be, she was the one who saw these text messages of him threatening me and her. And she convinced, persuaded, forced, not forced, but she really wanted deeply for me to contact the police. And I did. But I was just so terrified for so long, and I didn't think the police would believe me.
Why not?
Because I was in London at the time, and there's so much. London's a big city with a lot of crime, right? And I thought that this would be domestic violence, people are getting stabbed, right? Do you know what I mean? I don't want to talk, we're not going to take this seriously.
Was that a symptom of the situation? Because how many years did this go on for?
For just under 4.
So in psychological terms, you become, as we all do in many situations, positive and negative, you become institutionalized into it. So you start to just accept it, live it.
I was completely brainwashed.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, I was in love with this person. He was my first love. Since I was 17, I'd been with him. And no matter how horrible the situation was at times, I loved him completely. And I was so, I don't know if blindsided is the right word, but I was definitely brainwashed and completely delusional.
And so, like I say, is that because it's common, it is a common symptom of the situation where it just becomes almost normal and you just live it. And I know a lot of people that have experienced lots of different facets of this at different ages. And so I suppose, what was it with you that you started to take that first big step to get away from it?
Oh, it's hard to solve because remember, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I think it was the exhaustion of it. And I couldn't I couldn't keep it up anymore. And I remember like one time he was like he was in Dubai and I was in London at the time, and he was like making me like send everything back, like clothes and everything that he bought me, or back to his mum's house. And I was like, but I can't afford like the postage because it's going to be really expensive. Like I can't afford it. And he was like screaming down the phone at me to like post and I was just like, I felt so traumatized all the time and so terrified all the time. And it was just not and I don't know why that stands out for me, but it just does. That day, thinking like, I can't function like this, and I can't. And I think at the time then I was like, I'd just turned 21. I was starting to get like better jobs in the world of entertainment. And so you're having to go to work and present yourself and be on and be like the best version of yourself you can be. And that's not possible when you're dealing with such there's anxiety, right? But then there's anxiety that's just like you've been living with and trying to keep a lid on for years. And you can't live like that.
Were you living in a perpetual state of like mood management with this person
yes.
where you're constantly trying to stop?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And then you do get good at kind of not manipulating them, but just trying to, well, you're walking on eggshells, right?
Yeah.
And then because you're a girl and because you're just massively hormonal and irrational as well at times, sometimes you can't keep a lid on it, and then you bite or switch or something, and then ultimately that makes them flip
but
out.
you know, as we said before, and I do actually want to say this out loud, the thing is that men have like, there's like a code of man. Do you know what I mean? And one of those things is you just don't do this.
Yeah.
You don't do it. Like my frustration with it in my experiences is that there's no going back. So it's like smash up the whole house, but don't touch the woman. Do you know, it's like people have anger issues, which they have to deal with, and it is unacceptable, but you don't touch them. You don't do it. Because once you go through with it, any reasoning on your behalf just falls flat because we don't care because you don't do it. So as you say, you're women are allowed to be hormonal. They're allowed to be crazy. You're allowed to be nuts. You just, as a guy, you've got to be able to be man enough to step back and go, I can't follow through with this. I need to.
It does happen on both. I mean, obviously, like men go through this as well. So I don't want it to be like, oh, women are so weak and all this rubbish. Nah, like this happens to men as well, you know? I don't actually know anyone it's happened to, like a man, but obviously from the podcast and everything I see, it does happen, and it's.
No, I agree. I like I say, from that gender perspective, it's just more of, one side is bigger and stronger,
course,
and you never use that in this to intimidate, overpower, and essentially abuse and attack.
Like one thing I will say is you never. Like even today when I was walking here, I was walking to my car, and there was like these like ballards or barriers up, and like the wind like went like that, and I literally like jumped.
Yeah.
You never lose. Like just being on like
edge.
flight or fight, not on edge, but I'm very, even like this. Excuse me. There's like even when people have like cricket bats and stuff, I'm just very cautious of what, like my peripherals, and if I'm going to be in the way of danger or,
So how did you, as you say, you were in a perpetual state of mood management, trying to control somebody's behavior, and then you make a decision to, right, now I need to get out, which means once you take that first step, you can't control this anymore.
Yeah.
How, and I think that if there are people watching this, I think that would be one thing they're going to be most afraid of. Like with any normal breakup, you're always very fearful of day one because of what's going to happen. Now, of course, in this situation, the fear must be huge. But what were the first few days and weeks like when you actually...
Because as well, you've got to remember, like, I so wanted to get away, but that's all I'd known for like since I was 17, and I loved him. Like I was engaged to him, you know? So you're dealing with like the heartbreak as well. And like someone who you found, even though it sounds so toxic, you found like a home in someone. And, but for the good of your safety and the good of like your family's safety, you can't be with them anymore. It's a really horrible thing. And I was so young. I was 21 and I wasn't equipped like I am now to be able to deal with something like that. You know, I wasn't strong enough by any means. But in the first few weeks, it was just, I need to, like, logistically, me and my sister moved to the other side of London. I stopped working at all the places I would work at where he knew I would be. That was just like to keep myself safe. And then I don't think the heartbreak really came to like months after.
Yeah.
You know?
I get what you're saying.
Until like it hit me. And then I got into another horrible relationship after that. But I think I was just trying to like fill a void, you know, looking back, like I shouldn't have done that at all. But at the time you're just trying to run from yourself and run from your head and escape yourself, that you run into someone else, you know.
And how long was it before you started to feel relatively confident, normal? I don't know what the right...
God, I'll tell you when it happens.
I'd say I am way out my comfort zone here, do you know what I mean, on podcasting, but it's like, when did you, you know, it's like I said, if we're talking to people watching this that feel this way, like, what's the time frame where you felt a bit more...
Yeah. I met a guy called Neil when I was 25 or 20. Was I 25 when I met Neil? And he was like amazing.
Okay.
And he's really happily with someone else now, and I love to see it. I genuinely do. I wish him nothing but such the best. But he, I don't want to say saved me, but he had a lot to do with saving me.
Did he restore your faith in like relationships or men? Or
yeah, I wouldn't say relationships because he as well did nothing violent or anything like that. But no. Wow. But he the usual stuff like texting the girls and messing around behind your back and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say he restored my my faith in relationships, but men, like he was and is a solid guy. You know what he stands for, and an amazing man, and a friend. He was a friend to me. And yeah, so I was about 25, I think, when I met Neil. So then, yeah.
And that was the good beginning of like to who you've become now, because you're really funny. Do you know what I mean? You're a super funny person and you're full of life. And I think we met for the first time 30 minutes ago, you know, something like that. And I think that it is a shining light about how, like you said this yourself, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but you can step away from it, you can get out of it, and you can go on to...
Yeah. And that's the thing, like everything in life, you've got to laugh at it, right? You've got to have the darkest of moments, if you can, find some dark humor in there, you know, and laugh. And because I'm a massive fan of like laughing at myself. I mean, there's a lot to laugh at, but like I try to stay in touch with my inner child as much as I can, because at the end of the day, like no matter how serious your job is or who you are in the world in terms of class or anything, I'm such a believer in, we're all just like kids.
Yeah. I'm a big believer.
We're all big kids and we're just wandering around, you know, blagging it or trying to find love or trying to find a connection with people and trying to find a reason and our purpose. And that's always changing. Like we're always evolving and we're always getting, okay, everything's fine now. And then like something will come and knock you for six and you'll be like, whoa, where did that come from? So it's just, I always try to take kindness and humor with me, because you never know who needs it, and life's too. See, like there's so much horrible stuff going on. It's like, why not try to take it with you, you know?
No, 100%. Look, my final question on this is just one of, how have you used the experience to build who you are today?
I'm a lot more ruthless when it comes to people I let in my like my circle. And I let it like, not so much maybe like in media and the world that I'm in here now, but with acting, it fed me so much.
Okay.
Because I would do, because we didn't talk about this at the beginning when we were talking about like my old career and stuff, but I did a lot of films, a lot of movies, and acting is and still will always be the love of my life. And I always was more gravitated to like the darker roles and the more meaty roles. And I think I drew a lot of my pain. I drew a lot of the characterization and the feeling that I would put into roles. I drew from a lot of my pain and the darkness that I went through. So ultimately, I do think I'm such a massive believer in fate. I believe the universe has always got its plan for us. And no matter what gets thrown at you, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, it's for a reason. Even if you might find out that the next hour, or you might find out the reason 5 years down the line. But one of the reasons why these horrible moments happened to me, you know, throughout my life with domestic violence, I believe was being an actor to draw pain from. I mean, could have got there a lot easier, but you know, whatever, got to do it the hard way. But I believe as well, you'll only be like the universe or a greater power, whatever you believe in, you'll only get tested to the best of your capacity and ability. I do believe that as well. And I do think that if I wasn't able to handle horrible things and events and situations that have happened in my life, it wouldn't have happened, you know?
Well, a lot of top actors and actresses, because I'm a massive movie fan, when you peel back the layers on a lot of these people, you see that they've been through quite a lot. And then they always have that inner connection where they have either moved around a lot as children, or they've suffered certain traumas, or they've lost parents, or they've, you know, been homeless and stuff like that. And you can see that it seems to serve this reality that they bring to each role that comes across as very convincing.
Authentic.
So you're still acting?
No, I can't, because I have a full-time job, which is so weird, because I was 33 or 33, I think. Yeah, when I got the radio. Yeah, 33. Which is a full-time job. And I'd never had a full-time job because I was always a freelancer, right? From when I was 19 years old, I was always a freelance performer. So it was such a weird thing for me to have a full-time job, but it was another thing that I had to really sit with myself and think hard about, you know, am I ready to walk away from acting, and am I ready to throw myself into something new? And I yeah, don't get us wrong, like I miss acting terribly. I miss it so much. Like I really, really do. But what the life that I'm in now, like this part of my life that I'm in now, it gives me a lot of stability. And I'm just kind of sitting in this part of the journey for now, and really trying to see where it takes me and see what I can learn from it and see who I meet from it. And it's tough being an actor if you're not from money. Like, let's just be real. And I'm not. And, you know, if I did have a trust fund, maybe I would be able to be a job an actress, but it's really, really hard, you know. Would I like to go back to acting one day? Absolutely, yeah. Or ideally, I would love to do, you know, radio and emceeing and everything I do now, and films on the side. Like, I'd love to do that, but logistically, it's just not feasible right now. Yeah.
What do you like about the radio then?
I love Well, my favorite thing is I love speaking to the kids on the way to school.
Okay.
I love that. Because I loved the radio growing up, and the presenters, and just listening to them tell their stories and the dynamic that the presenters had between themselves. And music has been such a massive part of my life. I feel really connected to music, like deeply.
Where did that come from? I love music inspirations. Like, you know, what was your very first favorite band?
Spice Girls. Obviously the Spice Girls. Girl power. Yeah, I love the Spice Girls.
They were cool though. I think if people don't, because it was 2 years, they were only around for a couple of years.
4 years, wasn't it? Yeah.
They burst onto the scene.
Do you know what?
And left a lasting legacy, but they weren't around for that long. And they were awesome.
It was an era of boy bands, right? And an era of Britpop, and the girls just came out and smashed it out the park. And it was the message, like giving to little girls. Like I think I was 6 or 7 when the Spice Girls got released, and the message of girl power and boys are rubbish and girls are the best, and but obviously it was taken with humor. But and it was that, like, girls can do it, girls can be strong, girls can be independent, and it was that message of girl power to the world that they really put out there. And I just really, as a little girl, I was just mesmerized by them, and I wanted to be just like them.
Oh, they took the country by storm.
And I met Emma Bunton twice, and both times she's been gorgeous. They say never meet your heroes, but I've met Emma twice and she couldn't have been nicer. She has time for everyone, and she really, when she has a conversation with someone, she's really having a conversation with you,
Yeah.
And she's really there, present in the moment, listening to you, and yeah.
And have you interviewed like tons of? I've asked a couple of radio DJs this about how they interview. What's it like for you to be sat in the other chair? And you're on the receiving end of the questions.
Yeah, weird, because that's why I think I felt a bit nervous at the beginning. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, look, when you interview, whether it's pop stars or whatever, it's they're promoting something, right? So they're talking to lots of, DJs and jocks, whatever. And so it must get a bit boring for them. And I appreciate that, And as well, as much as I am interested in, what they might be promoting at that particular time, I'm more interested in them, like, on a human level. Because, so many, I don't want to say like artists have a responsibility, but they kind of do, in the sense of, like, so many people look up to them and they save people. They don't even know they're doing it, but they're saving people, on a day-to-day basis from their own heads and from situations. Like, if they're little, they might be getting bullied at school, or their mum and dad might be getting a divorce, or whatever it may be, and they're putting on that song and escaping into that world. So yeah, I think that's an amazing thing about artists and about music. It's an escapism, right?
Well, nothing triggers memories like music. You can be, I mean, I do it all the time, listen to all different types of stuff, and then, because of my age, I've been around a long time. And well, I've been through great moments in music, the 80s, the 90s. The 90s were spectacular.
I was going to say, is that your favourite era?
Well, do you know, the thing is, people get very nostalgic about their eras. So we all think that we were born in the greatest era, but, I definitely was born in the greatest era. Because I was 14 in 1990, so you start off with rave and hardcore, right? But you're young. But I had elder siblings that were into it. So you were there by association. You're hanging around with older people and, like, go to a couple of rave clubs and a couple of raves, and you're like, oh, this is great. Because it was a movement. And there were no mobile phones. Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, because if there were, oh my goodness. No, we're going to get to that.
That's why the nights out was so good. There was no phones.
Because there was no phones. And we're going there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We're definitely going there. But then you had grunge. Then you had these crossovers. You had the Prodigy. You had Jamiroquai. You had the Spice Girls. You had the boy bands. They were not really my thing, but I definitely respected, I always say that it doesn't matter how commercial an artist is, Britney, Rihanna, Take That, Spice Girls, they're all capable of at least one amazing song. Yeah. And even though I sort of stood on the more independent, not in the charts type of vibes, I've got a load of guilty pleasures. Do you know what I mean? Where it comes and I'm like, hey, you can't deny that. That is really, really good.
How do you feel about Beyonce?
How do I feel about Beyonce?
Oh,
This is not your podcast, it's my podcast. How do I feel about Beyonce? You can't, no, actually very good. I tell you how I feel about Beyonce. Okay, Glastonbury.
yeah.
Glastonbury, I don't know what the year was.
It was 2000 and what year?
Because Jay-Z did it. Jay-Z did it the year before.
And one of my lovely exes was a camera guy.
Yeah.
At that Glastonbury as well, yeah.
So Glastonbury has this way of making uncool people cool in the world of the Glastonbury.
What's in about Beyonce, Sam?
So I'll tell you what it is.
Definition of cool.
It's very, very similar to Robbie Williams singing Angels on the main stage at Glastonbury in 97, I think it was, where before that, he's take that cheesy pop whatever, and everyone at Glastonbury's like, no, I'm not having any of this. But then he got everybody to sing Angels, and that's when he became cool. And he took off to a different crowd. Beyonce, was it Jay-Z was the year before, there was uproar about Saturday night, main stage, hip-hop. Noel Gallagher had basically, slated him, it's not rock. And that's when, if you watch the performance, he comes out and sings Wonderwall and then goes straight into 99 Problems. And you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. You've actually come out
because you've used it. Yeah, like they're smart,
and you've told the whole country, right? Kind of F you, but check this out. But then Beyonce was doing the Sunday night, and that's the closing of Glastonbury, which is a monstrous gig. And I remember watching it, and she was incredible.
And she brought loads of rock influence into it as well. The way she reworked her songs, she was quite rocky with it.
And I remember it was like she went from like being girl band chart to kind of, I moved her mentally. I'm sure she'll love me for saying this.
Well, I'm sure she's watching it.
I'm sure she's watching. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to tag her in it. No, I'm joking. But the thing is, and I moved her into this kind of like Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder bracket where it was such a great show. And you're like, you came out of Glastonbury really cool. So yeah, that's my opinion of Beyonce. Yeah. What do you think of the whole Beyonce shift into country music? That's raised a few.
I am the biggest Beyonce fan.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've seen her alive like 7 times. The first time I saw her was in Destiny's Child when I was 12. I queued in like 5 hours in the pouring rain outside Newcastle Arena to get the tickets. Beyonce's had a massive impact on my life. And I could never meet her. I could never.
Why?
Because, Sam, if she was like...
She was here though. She was in... She opened
I wasn't
Royal
invited
Atlantis.
though. I wasn't invited. Not that I'm
you really mean that as well, do you?
Still not over it. Whoever does the PR for that gig. I could never meet her because I would just be a bag of nerves.
What would you ask her?
Oh.
If they said, if Love Radio said, right, you're interviewing Beyonce, you don't have a choice, and you could ask her anything you want, what are you asking Beyonce?
I'd ask her about the kids.
Yeah?
Because Beyonce went through a massive journey with trying to conceive, conceive and then keep our babies. And that was such a massive loss of hers, and a thing that she went through and she didn't let the world know about. She would do massive gigs and video shoots and she just lost babies. And it was a massive, massive loss for her and, Jay-Z. And I'm talking like I know them, but
I'm going to tag them, don't worry.
Yeah,
we'll know them after this.
And so I think now watching her as a mum and from being like a long-term fan since I was like, I've grown up with her since I was 12. I've loved her. So now when I see her with her kids and I see how much joy her children bring her, it's like she looks genuinely happy. You can see it. And when, because I saw her in Paris in June twice, I saw her, and when like she has her kids on the stage, like you can just see, she even drops like the perfectness that she gives normally because she's just so like in awe of her kids. And I love to see that because I can appreciate how destroying it was when, she kept on miscarrying and I don't know, I know she definitely had one. And I know what that must have done to her. So now she has these beautiful 3 children that are on this earth. It's just, I love to see it. So I'd probably ask her about the kids or family life, because I know she wouldn't want to talk about it because she's so private. But that's how you would genuinely, I think, get something from her.
Do you think that she sort of, not that we're now talking about Beyonce, but it's like, do you think that what you saw was everything else doesn't matter? That's the real, you know, the money, the Grammys, the marriage, Jay-Z, everything. When she looks at the kids and she's like, that's
you can see it.
Yeah,
because you can
nothing
feel
else
it.
matters.
You can
Yeah, I was
feel
going to
it.
ask. Yeah,
you can see, when you see it, you can feel it. But I didn't answer your question about the country music.
Oh yeah, no, go on. Yeah, good. Wow, you're very professional, because I totally forgot about that.
I wasn't. I'll keep you right. Don't worry, on your own podcast, Samia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I need it.
Country music. I wasn't the biggest fan, to be honest, because I love my R&B. I love my hip hop. I love.
Because country's weird. Do you know what I mean?
Beyonce did it massive justice, and I'm going to say this because I love her, but the Cabo Carter album, tracks on it I didn't really like, but it was a massive grower, and tracks on it that I loved, and I just feel like she does things so differently, and she puts so much like heart into everything she does, and so much like you can feel the work that she puts into it. Yeah, but they're saying she's going to do Act 3, because Act 1 was Renaissance, which was like the whole disco era. Act 2 was obviously country, and then now Act 3, they're saying it's going to be rock, and I'm like, oh, please don't let it be rock. I really, really want it to be like a straight rap album, because she's such a sick rapper.
Yeah.
Or Destiny's Child. The people, rumors have been saying that might be Destiny's Child, like, reunion. But yeah, it probably is going to be rock, because she was massively.
Why not rock? Like, are you? I was going to ask, if Beyonce is your favourite, who's the worst?
Who's the worst for us?
Who's at the other end of that spectrum?
Well, look, there's beauty in everything, right? So, but I wouldn't like to listen to like heavy metal. I don't like heavy metal. No? Nah, I don't like it. That would be just like torture to me. Yeah, heavy metal's like my worst.
What's going to happen if Beyonce does a rock album and you like it?
Well, I probably will. I'm going to have to, haven't I? Going to be like, oh, there we go. But no, she'll do it like Tina Turner did rock, right? She'll still do her own kind of, I'm talking like I know it, like her own style, but the way she uses that voice, like her inflections, her tones, her harmonies, the writing will be rock, but just with her kind of sound, you know? So I'll be sat here in a year's time going, yeah, I'm going to see her Act 3,
rock,
going to see a rock album.
And I'm going to meet her. Do you know what I mean? Oh. No, fantastic. Look, the time has flown, believe it or not, but I really want to now touch upon a subject that's, I think, very important to you and very important to me.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to you and I said, do you want to come on Tasty Humours? You were like, yeah, it's fabulous and stuff like that. So I was like, that's really, really cool. But you then put on your stories, you went to see J-Lo.
Yeah.
And then you said yesterday that you had to speak out about something, which was everybody on their mobile phones. And anybody that watches this podcast quite regularly, this subject comes up a lot with literally everyone. It's like...
So I went to see J-Lo, who, again, I adore, have done and always will. I could meet J-Lo. I could meet J-Lo because I love her, but she's not like... She's like second to Beyonce. And because I wouldn't be that maybe intimidated by J-Lo, but I would still like love to meet her.
Yeah.
Incredible performer. And I just love how hardworking she is. But everyone had their phones out, just like literally had their phones out. And I thought, okay, well, like after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I might put them down. But throughout the whole of the concert, Sam, everyone, well, not everyone, that's complete exaggeration, shock. A lot of the people in the crowd had their phones out.
Because a lot of people do this.
Yeah. And I'm like, look, of course, I know that you're going to, your favorite song comes on, but then it's like, know the best bit, know the chorus or your best bit of the song, wherever it may be, and film that bit. Because everyone wants to have it, for their stories and post on Instagram and all that lot. But don't stand there throughout the whole thing, with your phone, because you're just living through the screen. And look, to be fair, I do feel sorry for people who are like that, because you're not connected to it, right? How can you be?
You see, I have this weird analogy where it's like, or this thought about it all, which is like, which is people are more, okay, no, that's a statement. It's more of a question. Are people more, is the new norm to go and you care more about telling people what you're doing than actually doing it?
So when I was speaking to people about this, some people did say that. And I get that. And as sad as it is, I think that probably is some people's truth. But I feel and I hope that we are going to, in 5 years' time, we're going to completely get out of this.
Yeah,
I'm here, I'm doing this, you know, and people are going to, it's going to almost be like a massive resistance against social media and against, you know, look what I'm doing. I do think that we are hopefully coming to the end of this. And I know, look, it's we need it like for our jobs, like, you know, we need to be on social media. And I think social media as a tool can be used in a really fabulous, effective way if you use it correctly. I've made loads of connections through social media and I'm connected to some really, really influential people and amazing people through that, you know? But when it's just like you're at a gig and you should be watching J-Lo and the wonderful dancers and performers and the backing vocalists and the show that these performers have worked so hard to craft and put together, and you're just on your phone, it's just like, and as a performer, like imagine being on the stage,
to ask, go for it.
At these
Go
screens.
for
it. It's just like, it would do your head in. And I would love to say, I would love for artists or the band to say, right, you got a 10-minute window.
Yeah.
We're going to have 10 minutes when you're allowed to be on your phone, and put your phones away. And then we'll have 10 minutes at the middle of the show when, you know, we do a few of the big hits, and then like 5 minutes at the end. And I know that's a bit like you're in a classroom, but maybe you do have to put some authority and put some guidelines to people. Otherwise, people are missing out on life.
I want to just applaud that speech. That's the bit I'm clipping up and showing everybody. But you know, they don't get, right? They don't get what it's like to not have a phone, right? Whereas...
But these were older people as well, Sam. These were people that were in like, you know, their mid-30s, 40s.
Yeah,
they weren't kids. They were, you know...
But it's like... do you know what, then? Maybe it's people that actually don't appreciate music in the way... See, the way I could talk about a particular band the way you spoke about Beyonce. Do you know what I mean, right? And the thing is that... This particular band is all, it's the Prodigy. So it's madness. It's madness personified. When you go and see this band live, there's nothing, I've seen numbers, there's nothing else like it. Now, the difference is I've pulled my phone out in Brixton Academy, do you know what I mean? And Stifler, you know.
Great venue.
It's a brilliant venue, right? But I've also been in the mosh pit at the Prodigy gig and down the front at a Prodigy gig. And this was when there were no phones. And it's like, you have no clue what it's like to actually live, breathe and feel it, because you've got no other choice. And this is what I think a lot of these people don't realise, is that stop filming everything, because the way that these things are kind of set up is that by the time you get to the middle of the gig, you're all over the place into it. And this is where the artist, as you will probably know from being a performer, wants you to be. The minute you start pulling out your phones... You're not. Oh, it's bizarre.
It takes you out. It takes you out of it, and it
takes you out of it.
It takes you out of it, and as well, your arm must get really sore. I said this on air as well. Like your arm just logistically, and then you're spoiling it for everyone else. There's so many reasons. I'm like, please put your phone away. But I am in hope that we are gonna, as a society, press against it, and you know, because it's not cool anymore, like, you know, to capture everything, to document everything, every single last bit. And I'm so glad. I feel so sorry for kids who are growing up in a world of social media today. I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah, me too.
I would
have hated it.
Yeah, I think I was 17 when I got Facebook, but obviously that was very light, you know. Because all the pressures on kids these days, that whether it's the eating disorders or the what you look like or how well you're doing or how much money you've got, I can't stand it. I can't bear it. Like how much makeup you're wearing, and again, like when you're an adult, and obviously like I've got loads of slap on now, I do realise, but like that's my job, you know.
I haven't.
You know, it's got more on than me. that's your job, and you're like an adult, and your brain is like developed enough to be like, this is my work persona, and I have to look a certain way or whatever to present myself. But when you're a kid and you haven't like put on makeup and look like this and look like that and like starve yourself so you look a certain way in the gym loads, it's hard enough growing up. Like even when I was a kid, like I've had eating disorder since I was about 11 years old, like off and on because of various things that went on in my childhood with bullying and stuff. But like, I didn't have social media and my eating disorder was bad when I was a kid. But imagine now what it must be like for the kids. And my heart just goes out to them. It really does. And so I just hope that, I don't know if they are teaching it in schools, whether to use social media and phones. I know that here in the UAE, some of the schools have put on a ban with phones, and I think that's amazing.
This has started.
I think it's great.
They are starting to ban phones in school, which I even find it bizarre that you'd even let them in the first place.
Yeah, but and as well, like I do empathise with, you know, the schooling systems, not just here in the Emirates, but around the world. How can you regulate the kids, right? Because they've got them in their pockets or their bags or whatever. But that here in the Emirates, they are trying to put a stop on it. And I think that's fantastic.
But you know what? I sort of, when I was at school, we had, like I was really old, you had a Walkman, right? You know, put a tape in it, headphones.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, you didn't even know what that was.
Because I thought you were talking about a walkie-talkie, like to keep in touch. I was like,
so that's how old I am. Okay, you would have had probably a Discman.
No, I had a Walkman. I did have a Walkman, but it wasn't mine. It was my dad's. But then I had a Discman, and I thought I'd made it. And with my Discman, I had like a really fluffy. It was like this, like blue with pink spots.
Yeah.
And I had all my CDs in there, and I thought I was like dead cool.
But when I was at school, you couldn't take that out and put it in the classroom. You couldn't have it. You know, you used to use it walking to school because you look cool, and you used to walk it. I used to show I've got one, but you couldn't have it at break. You couldn't put it at lunch or anything like this. And the thing is, it's like when the schools turn and they go, oh, how do we stop it? You know, I also know there's stories of parents here. I'm happy to say this as well. I don't care. The thing is that there are parents here that when the schools have tried to ban the phones, they say no because my child should be 100% contactable at all times.
And look, right, even though I'm not a parent, and this is one of the reasons why I don't want to be a parent, because I would be a nervous wreck. The minute my child left the house,
true,
I would be, even like when my dog's in daycare, I'm like every 5 minutes, like send us photos, send us this. So to an actual child, I don't even know what I'd be like. My anxiety would be through the roof with the stress levels and the worry.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. However, completely contradicting myself.
No, but
you do have to let your kids go out into the world.
I understand down the park, out with your mates, come home by 7, you need a mobile phone, you got to tell me where you are. I get that, you know. What I don't get is when they go into, right now, teachers, it's your turn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like now it's about probably, I always felt that school in reflection is where you get away from your parents. And there's so much debate, not that we're going to get into this, but there's so much debate around the schooling system and who's teaching what correctly and et cetera, et cetera. But really, I think the whole thing is getting kids ready for life.
Yeah.
Being with different people, going to work, you know, throwing loads of subjects at you to hopefully through the whole process that one tiny thing might stick. And that you come out of it going, I want to travel the world, not knowing you got inspired by geography, which I found terribly boring. Do you know what I mean?
But I do think, because I'm not an academic at all.
Yeah, neither am I. I can talk. That's my thing, you know.
And I can barely do that. And I think the number one thing a child can learn and have in life is resilience. I think resilience is the key to everything. Everything. Because everything starts and ends with it, right? So, yeah, not that I'm going to start to go into like the school system and stuff like we say.
That'll be part 2.
Yeah. But resilience, I hope, and the only way to get resilience is to be told no and be told, because all this like, oh, everyone's a winner. I'm not a fan of it. There's one winner. I'm not a fan of everyone's a winner. I'm sorry, I'm not, because life's not like that.
Yeah, it's not.
Like what? You're going to go for a job and you want to be the CEO. What's going to be like 100 CEOs? There's not. There's
well, if
one
6
CEO.
people are going for promotion and one person gets it, 5 people don't get a promotion medal. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You don't get it. You do, and the more at peace you can be. Look, everyone hates getting rejected, whether it's in professional life, personal life, or love life. It's a horrible thing. But the more you get rejected, the more comfortable you're going to be with being uncomfortable. And that's such a thing that I would like people to have, you know, the kids to have.
Well, it's funny because I don't know, I think you've answered my final question about 10 times, but I'm still going to ask it, which is, I always ask every guest, if you could only say one thing, like, and it's not about inspiration or anything, it's just more about, you know, whoever you think is out there towards you, if there's it's a little bit cliched, it is, but that kind of like 12-year-old Elena out there that's like, but I think from your life and talking to you, and again, I think you're number 74 now. Really? But the thing
I'm
is...
I'm just a number to you, Sam.
Well, no, it's more like I sit 6 feet away from people once a week, and I've done it for over a year, and I make a point of selecting as random as I can get. Do you know what I mean?
That's one of the things I really like about your podcast. People are so different.
I appreciate
a lot.
that.
Yeah,
and I do that to keep myself on my toes, but to also try to get just really unique experiences out of people. Now, I think out of all of them, I think what you've been through in your life is wild on the sense of people talk about the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, but you've really forgive me for saying this, but you've been to the low. Do you know what I mean? But also you've got so much life and fun and you've got the high, you know, performing, singing, dancing, because as much as we know maybe some unique spaces in London that we might know similar names and everything like this, I know what it's like to be a club manager. It's brilliant on occasion, and probably a club dancer and stuff like that. You have crazy nights, and it's like sometimes I can't believe I'm being paid to do this.
Some of the best and worst moments of my life.
And you meet incredible people, and it's like, I suppose the question of if there's one thing you want to say to maybe people coming through the ranks, like in life, based on everything you've been through, I think it's you're one of the best people to have asked. So what's your closing statement?
So much. And this is something that and I'm a hypocrite for saying this, but try to treat yourself with kindness that you would treat others. I don't do that, and I would like to start doing that. So I would say that, but honor where you are in the moment, because you never know what life is going to throw at you at no matter what time. And no matter who's going to walk into your life for the good, bad, the ugly, and honor how you're feeling, and don't try not to let anyone like influence you, and trust your gut more than anything. Like, trust your intuition. It never lies. It really doesn't. And just try to be like true to yourself, whatever form that is. And if like 1 minute you're the life and soul of the party, and then the next day you want to be alone and not speak to anyone, honor that and honor the feeling that you're in, and stay true to how you are. And above anything else, just kindness, because you never know. It's so cliche what anyone's going through. You never know what is like behind closed doors for people. So just practice kindness. The guy, we live in a country where we're very fortunate. The guys, filling our car with petrol, and all the backbone of the country, like the laborers and people here, when you can, like, show them compassion and show them love and respect, because our worst days are their best days. And lead with kindness above anything else. Lead with kindness.
Fantastic. Alana Wallace, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I've really enjoyed this, and I really, really appreciate your honesty and candor through the entire conversation. So
yeah, thanks for having us, Sam. I appreciate it.
Problem.
Thank you.
Right.